and then I'll stick around for about 5 minutes to help out any learners who might need any help.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
No problem.
Hey, Joe. Can you hear me, Joe? Uh, Hi, Wanda.
Hi, Wade. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
Good.
Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Nelda. Hi. Good to see you again. Welcome back. Hey, Joe, if you can hear me, text me. Looks like your microphone's not working. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Sebastian, maybe you could reach out to her. Let's see, who else is here? Betty, can you hear me? Okay, how about Pat? Pat, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I see you with your dog.
All right. Oh, I need to change my picture too. Let me start my video. Thank you.
But I can't get my camera to work.
Mine works. I just have to remember to turn it on. Okay. Hi, Kimberly. You there? There's Martha. Hi, Martha. Let's see. Let's see. Betty Dreyer, can you hear me? Got two Bettys here today. Oh, there's Charlene. Hi, Charlene. How are you?
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, you're not late. We're still checking everybody in, so you're right on time.
Oh, perfect.
Erica, are you there? Erica and Ken, are you there? Okay. See, Becca, you've come in. Can you hear me? Oh, there's Ken. I see you as well. Can you hear me, Ken? Okay. All right. Great. Let's see who else has come in. Lisa. And if you can hear me, just unmute and say hi. I'm trying to check everybody's microphone and make sure everybody can.
Yep. Lisa's here.
All right. Hey, Lisa. Great. Eric, I got your message. Okay. Let's see. I see Michael's coming in there. Hi, Michael.
Michael's here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you as well. Hope you're having a good afternoon. All right, let me do that. And who else? So Raymond, can you hear me? All right, let's see, who have I missed here? Heard from almost everybody. A couple people I haven't heard from. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to get started with some of my preliminary steps here to get everything ready to go. Okay. I see a couple of people don't have microphones. Okay, that's not a problem. We're going to take care of that as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start getting everything set up for the class. We got a few more people, give them another minute to get in and then we'll get started. So I'm going to share my screen first and move your pictures over to my other monitor so I can see all of you. All right. Oh, hi, Christina. Didn't see you come in. Welcome. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. I think most people are muted already. And I will remute throughout the class, when I start to hear any background noise or echoes or anything like that. So when you have a question or comment, just remember to unmute yourself first and then go ahead and ask your question. You don't need to raise your hand or anything, just unmute and ask away. I've also opened the chat. So I know a couple of people are having problems with their microphones, and if anyone else is having mic problems, feel free to go ahead and use the chat. It is now open. But if your mic's working, please do just go ahead and ask out loud. That way everybody else can hear your questions, and I'll hear your questions and get you a quick answer as well. But the chat is now open for those who need it. All right, I think that's everything I needed to do to get us ready. So let's go ahead and start the class. This is Excel Basics. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy the class. My name is Wade Yarbrough. I'll be your guide for today. Very briefly, I'm from Tennessee, a little town called Mason, which is just outside of Memphis. went to Mississippi State, got my degree in psychology there, and went to West Virginia University, way up north from there, for my doctorate degree. Taught psychology early and late in my career. Most of my career was spent installing and training users how to use hospital information systems. But what I love about teaching and Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people that are here because you want to be here. You've signed up for the class. You're not here because your employer made you attend the class. And it certainly makes all the difference for me. And that's really what we're trying to do at Get Set Up as well for you, is to create an environment where you can take classes you want to take, along with other people that are interested in the same topic, where you can interact and hear each other's questions and talk to the guide as well. The session is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. That's always helpful in case you missed something or just want to watch it again. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io and be sure to include the name of the class and the date you attended it. I'm going to put that email address in the chat as well. Okay, it is there. In case you don't already have that in your email contacts, go ahead and put that in there. At the end of class, we'll talk about some other ways where you might want to use that same email address. It's pretty much your one-stop shopping for any questions, comments you may have for Get Set Up. The session is also being live streamed, so I do want to welcome everyone joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining and hope you enjoy the class as well. But I do want to stress that the only way to get that full Get Set Up experience where you can interact with the other learners and talk to the guide is to go to our website and sign up for the class. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote specific products. We are purely trainers. So let's look at the agenda for today. This is the introductory class. And so we're going to assume that you have little or no experience with Excel. So we'll start with what Excel is and how to get access to it. We'll talk about how to create and save Excel workbooks, how to use simple formulas and functions, which are really the meat and potatoes of spreadsheets, and also how to enter, format, and copy information. So what is Excel? Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet program that allows you to enter and manage data in the form of numbers, text, and formulas. Microsoft Excel has been the undisputed market leader for quite some time. They aren't the originator of the spreadsheet programs. If you remember way back when, VisiCalc, I think, was the first popular spreadsheet program, if not the first. And then there was Lotus 1, 2, 3. But Excel has been king of the hill for quite some time, but Google Sheets is gaining in popularity. And we also have a class on using Google Sheets. A lot of similarities, but some differences between them as well. So how do you get access to Excel? Maybe you've used Excel as part of a corporate program, and now you need to get it on your own. And the primary way and the best way is to get it as part of Microsoft 365. That is a subscription that's, we'll call it $70 a year, but it includes Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneDrive, and a 1 terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes of storage, which is not a bad deal for $70 a year. We do have a related class called Microsoft 365 Overview. And in that class, we go over what is included in Microsoft 365, how you get it, set it up. So if you don't have Microsoft 365, that'll be a great class to take to understand what it is before you fork up your money. There is a free version of Microsoft Office, it used to be called. It's called Free Office Online. It is browser-based, but it is not the full functionality that you get with Microsoft 365. And it only comes with 5 gigabytes of storage space. So it's really more of a starter, or maybe to use if you aren't really sure if you want to use the full product. And we talk about that in this class as well. As I'm going through, just want to remind everybody that if you have questions or comments, please just go ahead and unmute and ask your questions. So we're going to jump right into using Excel. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down. This is primarily my cheat sheet, so we got room to actually see Excel. So Excel is a program that you have to download. So once you've got your account with Microsoft, your 365 account, You download it to whichever device you're going to be using it on. You can get to it from your taskbar down here, which is what most people do. You can also get to it from the start window. So you could come here to, this is Office 365, and you can click Excel from here. Either one takes you to the same place. Oops. And it's trying to hide off to the side here. Just let me get this back where I can see it. There we go. All right. You're going to be cranky, aren't you? The fun of using two monitors. There we go. Better. All right. So when you open it, it comes to the home page, and this is the home page. Two sections in the home page. The top section is how you can create a new spreadsheet. Down the bottom, you can access spreadsheets, workbooks. Workbook is really the title for the entire file. There are different sheets within the file. I tend to use them synonymously and incorrectly. So technically, these are all workbooks. But you can start with a blank workbook, which is just as it suggests, and it would look just like this. It is just a workbook with nothing in it. Or you can start with a template. And templates are handy, especially if you're not real familiar with Excel. You can click this More Templates link right here, and it will open up a lot of different templates that you can use. So there's like a weekly chore schedule, a simple personal budget. If you scroll through, there's lots of things. There's calendars, again, different types of budgets, student schedules, balance sheets, lots of work-related ones. So you could scroll through this, but the idea being that if you want to start with a template, it will give you something where you can just go in and actually use Excel without really having to understand that much about how it works. I actually think it's better as a way just to get started and then go in and make changes to it yourself. I'll just open this one as an example to show you how this works. So if I click on this weekly attendance report, it'll bring you to this screen and it'll tell you a little bit about it. And if you think that's what you want, you can hit create. And it takes that template and copies it into an Excel workbook. And this one has two tabs at the bottom, the start tab where it just tells you about the template. And then if you click this sheet, the second sheet here, that's where the actual information is. And you can see that this is a spreadsheet that lets you identify, in this case, it's students, but it could be employees. If maybe you work for a not-for-profit and you want to keep track of attendance, so you could modify this to be whatever you want it to be. Column for each month, and you've got how you record attendance. So you could just start putting your information in there and indicating if that person attended on that day. Or, yes. Just for example. Questions
Excuse
about?
me.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, Wade. I've got down the right-hand side of my screen, I've got you and the pictures of people, and it's hiding some data. Can I get rid of that?
Yes, up in the upper right, it should say view or view options.
Yes.
Click that and pick side-by-side gallery. Or it may just say gallery, depending on what device you're on.
Now what's happened is the screen has gone smaller and I've still got the pictures to the right-hand side.
You should have the pictures to the right-hand side, but the full thing on the left-hand side. Let me stop and reshare. Sometimes that will fix it. Okay. See if that pops it back on.
Yeah, it's there. It's just much smaller.
Okay.
I wonder if I can try making it bigger. No, that's not working. Okay. That's okay. It's there. I can see all of it now. Thank you.
All right. Great. All right. Good. Okay. So I'm going to actually close this and open it again. Just using the I'm gonna say I don't want to save it. Just showing you can open it as well from your taskbar. This time it's going to open it in the right spot. It'll open it wherever you had it last. And it brings me back to my home screen again. So any questions about templates? Most people start with a blank workbook once they know how they're working. So we're going to spend our time doing that. Okay, so down here at the lower section, these are all the workbooks that you have access to that you've worked on before. And there's several ways you can sort through these and manage these, because over time, this list will get pretty long. The default here is recent, so it shows you the most recent ones you've used on top, and then it gets, they orders them based on the last time you opened that and worked on that workbook. You can also pin a workbook, and what that does is I'll pin this one. If I come over here and click on that pin, it basically pins it. And now if I come over here to the pinned ones, it just shows me the ones that have that little pin on it. So what you would typically do is pin ones that you don't use every day, every week, but you want to be able to find them when you need them. Maybe it's something you update once a month, once a year, but you want to find it without having to scroll down through all of these other ones. So pinning it is a nice way to keep those 5 or 10 that you use the most. Here's the one we just pinned. If I change my mind and want to unpin it, I just click here, and you'll notice it's now saying down on the bottom, just below the arrow, unpin this item from the list. It now takes it off of my pinned list. It's still over here in my recents list. I can also search by name if I want to search. The third tab here is shared with me, and these are workbooks that someone else owns and is shared with you. For instance, Liz Maurice owns this spreadsheet. She has shared it with me. I can open it and edit it, or I can open it and do whatever she's given me privileges to do. I'll show you how to share a spreadsheet toward the end of the class, but you can share it with someone else. Questions about any of that so far? If not, let's go ahead and get into a spreadsheet. That's what you're all anxious to see. So I'm going to open this workbook here. This is one that I created for the class today. And so this is this is the first sheet in this workbook. Talk a little bit about the formatting. So cells are where you enter information. So these are all cells. A cell is the intersection of a row and a column. So this is the C10 cell. If you look up here, it'll show you it's the C10 cell. Cells are the only place you can enter information. So that is where you store your information in the cells. Up at the top here, this is called the ribbon. And these are all the commands that you can use on your spreadsheet. It's separated into tabs at the top. So these are all the insert related commands. These are the page layout related commands. It groups them first into a section here. And then there are individual ones within here. Sometimes there's drop downs to get to the different ones. So you can see there's lots of different commands. A little overwhelming, but the good news is you don't have to know but a small fraction of these in order to use a spreadsheet. And we're going to go over a very small fraction of them today, but by the end of class, you'll be able to create a simple spreadsheet. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So there's 4 types of information you can put into the cells: numbers, text, dates, and formulas. You can see that this first cell here, B3, has 5.24 displaying. And I say displaying because that's what it's showing me. That may not be what's literally in the cell. If you click on a cell and look up here at the formula bar, it's called, this is the actual contents of that cell, 5.238456. You can format the cell to display information differently than the actual stored value. So I'm showing it to 2 decimal places. I can change that and I could show fewer decimal places or more decimal places. So I can change the format of what I'm seeing. I'm not changing the actual contents, but what you're seeing is the main point here may be different than what's actually in there. If you double click the cell, it will show you in the cell the actual contents, and I can edit it from here. Or I can edit it from up here. Text is text. So what you see is what you get. There's really not much difference there. But the only thing you can do with text is you can change the alignment. So I could make it be right justified so it lines up with my numbers better, but it doesn't change what's in the cell. Dates are a special type of number. So here I'm seeing Thursday, January 2nd, 2020. Here's what's actually stored is that the exact date. But again, I can change the formatting of this. So if I can come here under dates, I can pick this is the long date that we're seeing. I can pick a shorter date. Or I can even come into here and go down here to more formats. And you can see there's a lot of different date formats that I could use. I could just have it show March 12th. And here it just shows January 20. Doesn't change the contents, it changes what I'm seeing. And one of the more handy commands up here is the undo up here at the top, and the shortcut bar up here. So if I change my mind, I can put it back like it was. Last thing you can put into cells is formulas, and this really is, as I said, the crux of a spreadsheet. And here I'm seeing 15, but if I look up here, I can see what's really in that cell is equals 12 plus 3. It really works like a calculator if you think about it. If I had a calculator and I wanted to add 12 plus 3, I would type in 12, hit plus, type 3, hit enter, and I'd see 15 on the display of the calculator. Works the same way, except you start with the equal sign instead of ending with the equal sign. But beyond that, creating a formula works the same way. Questions before I move on? We're going to talk a lot more about formulas. If not, let's go and talk more about formulas. So let's enter some more formulas and we'll talk about some of the different types of formulas along the way. So let's say I want a formula to add 42 and 148. So I click on the cell where I want the formula to be, and I've already clicked here. Again, you always start with equal. Then I'm going to say 42 plus 148, just like I was doing it on a calculator, hit enter. And it gives me the answer, 190. Here's my formula, 42 plus 148. I can also double click here and it'll show me my contents. I can edit here, I can edit here. You don't do this very often, adding 2 numbers in a spreadsheet. That's really not what spreadsheets are meant to do. I'm going to undo that because I didn't mean to do that. Stop doing that. Normally your formulas work on cells as opposed to just numbers. So for example, I might want to divide the contents of the cell B3 by 10. I can create a formula to do that, equals. I can type B3, but I'm lazy. It's easier to just click on the cell and it'll put B3 in there. Plus it's less chance of a typo. So it now has B3. Now I want to divide that by 10. So I just put /10, hit enter. And there's my answer. 190 divided by 10 is indeed 19. Here's my formula, B3 divided by 10. And you've probably guessed that you can have formulas that only deal with other cells. This dealt with a cell and a number. I can create a formula that will subtract B5 from B3. I'll just do that by putting equal. I'll point to B3, hit minus. I'm going to now tap B5, hit enter. And there's my result. There's my formula. 190 minus 19 is indeed 171. Questions about simple formulas? And you can make more complex formulas. I can add multiple. I can have more than two. I can add 3 more cells in there. I could combine those and divide those 4 cells by 10. So it works just like algebra. You can create a much more complex formula if you wanted to, but that's basically how it would continue to work.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Nelda.
On mine, I guess it came with my computer, so it doesn't have all of the whistles that yours does. But is at some point, is this Excel on my computer going to retire and I'm going to have to buy a Excel program or the?
Oh yeah, you probably have a licensed version from a while back. And it will continue to work, but what happens is that you don't get any more updates to it. So as Excel continues to grow and expand and add functions and features, you'll be locked into what you've got. But I don't think it actually has an expiration date where it stops working.
Okay.
It's just kind of, it becomes obsolete, and that's the incentive to move forward. And at some point, it may not work with the newer version of the operating system. So as you keep upgrading Windows to the newer and newer versions, at some point, that is where it might blow up, where the older version won't work with the newest version of Windows. So you'd have to either stay on an older version of Windows to match your Excel, or go up to Microsoft 365 to get to the newest one.
Okay.
But yeah, your version should work pretty similarly, but you'll see there's some things that have been added since your version even.
Right, because I don't see the formulas on mine. When I go to formulas, the 5.24 is just showing 5.24. It's not showing the formula, you know.
Okay.
Like yours does.
Okay, all right. Other questions before I move on? Okay. Now I mentioned that dates are actually numbers, which means I can do math with dates as well. So if I wanted to figure out how many days is it from the contents of B8 to the contents of B9, I can just treat that like any other number. I can say equals B8 minus B9, and it's 20 days from December 4th to December 24th. You could probably figure that out in your head. If you were doing to 2022, you might not be able to figure that out in your head. It's 750 days from December 4th, 2020 to December 24th, 2022. So you can see where sometimes it's handy to be able to do math with dates. Next thing I want to show you before we move on is a couple of shortcuts. If you remember when we looked at the template, it had days of the week across the top as the column headers for that attendance spreadsheet. I could type in Monday, then type in Tuesday, then type in Wednesday, but that's kind of tedious, and I've already told you I'm lazy. What you can do is type in the first item. That can be a day of the week or a month. Grab this bottom right corner, and when you get there, you'll notice the cursor changes, and drag it over, and it will copy and create that series. And to get the full week, I need to go out one more. Do that. And so there's my full week. It works no matter what the format is, because I'm working in the underlying numbers. I'm not changing the format. And it works with months as well. So I can get my months out here. So it's just a nice little shortcut if you're setting up a table where your column headers are going to be days or months. And it also works with rows. So if you're going to have row headers, you can do that as well. Next thing we want to talk about is functions. And let me catch up with myself. And here's a little diagram showing what a function is. A function is like a pre-formatted formula. So in this case, this is a sample function. It starts with an equal sign as well, since it is a type of formula. Think about it that way. Then you have the function name. This is the sum function. And then you have what are called arguments. That's what the function is working on. So this is basically saying to sum up everything from column A, from cell A1 to cell A20. So let's do some functions as well. So I've got another sample sheet here. And now we're getting something that looks more like a typical table you'd see in Excel. This is a fictitious club, my club. Here's all the members of the club. So this is the actual data that you enter. Here's your column headers. It tells you what's in those cells below it: full name, tier, monthly fee, percent of total, which isn't there, but it will be eventually. And so I want to add some functions to give me some information, aggregate the information in the table itself. So first thing I want to do is count the number of members I've got. And yes, I can see there's only 4, but let's say I end up with over 200. So I need Excel to tell me how many I've got. And up here is where the functions live. So if I come here and click this down arrow, it gives me the most commonly used ones here. And if I don't see the one I want here, I can click here and get to many more functions. You can also get to them from this tab as well. Gets into a lot more detail. There is an Excel intermediate class, and we talk about logical formulas and text-based formulas, functions in that class. But for this class, we're going to keep it fairly simple. So I'm just going to work from here. And I want to count. And there's a count right there. So I'm just going to select that one. Excel tries to guess what I'm going to count, and it guessed pretty good. I want to count these cells. So all I have to do is hit enter, and indeed it is right. There are 4 members. I'm going to do a couple more so you can get the idea of how these work, but ask questions as I'm going if you have questions. Next thing I want to do is sum up my total revenue for the month. So I'm going to come up here and grab sum. It guesses what I want. It's pretty close, but not quite right. I don't want this included. That's not part of my table. I only want from here, and I just use the left mouse and come down to select what I want, C4 through C8. Here it is, C4 colon C8. I could have typed in C4 colon C8, but as we've established, I'm lazy. So I do it that way. And there's my total. There's my function, sum of C4 through C8, so I can double check and make sure that's doing what I wanted it to do, and it is. One more, I want to know what the average member is paying. I can put that answer anywhere I want to. I could put it over here if I wanted to. That wouldn't make too much sense, but I'm going to put it right there. It doesn't have to be at the bottom of the column. It can be anywhere you want it to be. Come up here and grab my function. In this case, I want the average. There's an average function. It guessed really poorly, but no problem. I'm just going to say, nope, I want you to sum up these cells. Hit enter. And there's the answer, 152. Questions?
Wait, can you do that one again?
Absolutely. Let's just delete it. Okay, so I want it to be here. I come up here, click the down arrow. I want an average, so I pick average. And again, it's trying to guess, it's trying to help. And it guessed poorly, but again, it doesn't matter. You can just come back and say, I want you to average the numbers in these cells. And you can see it's actually put C4 colon C8, which is what I want, C4 through C8. So I just need to hit enter on the keyboard, and that gives me the average. Here's my function, equals average C4 through C8.
Wade,
Uh-huh.
if those cells were all joined onto each other, if you wanted to average cells which were separate, how would you do that?
That would get, so if I had some other numbers over here and I wanted to add them all up,
Yeah.
you can do that, but that gets more complicated than we probably want to get into today. So
Oh, okay.
you can't
Okay,
do it in a
thank-
simple function. You'd have to actually do some complex functions to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You know, from a simple perspective, it wants to work on a table where you got rows and columns, and it works great on rows and columns. Doesn't work as well if you're jumping around, even
Right.
though it can do it. But,
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I remember exactly how to do it, to be honest, as well. I'd have to have to play with that one to get it to work. All right. If there's not any other questions about functions, and again, there's lots of other functions. I can click more functions, and it will take me down here, or I can go up to the formulas. As I said,
Wait,
you can see lots of different ones up here. Yep.
wait, can you hear me?
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead. Is that Joe? Yeah.
Yes. Can you tell me one more time where the formatting for the dates? Show me that one more time.
Yes, let me just go back where we were and reformat that date. So that's from the home tab. So I'm going to click home. I was over here on formulas. So I click back home, and up here, remember dates are numbers. So it's under number, even though it's a date. That's a little confusing for some people. And if you just click the down arrow, it gives you the ones that are used most commonly, and that's the long date, which we've got, and the short date, which is what I'm seeing up here. But if I click more number formats down here at the bottom, it'll take me into this sheet, and now it breaks down the different types of number into lots of different formats. So I could just have day and month without the year. I can have day, month, and year. I can have the day without the leading zero, with the leading zero, etc.
What about, and then you click enter and it does it for the whole sheet, or
Nope,
just for that cell?
Just for
Okay.
that cell. So
All
I can say okay, and it's now reformatted it there.
Thank you.
I'll show you some tricks about copying formats in a minute, but yes, it just changes the one that in this case, it's changing just that one. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to teach you another type of formula, and this one's more complicated. This isn't a simple formula, but it's not too bad, but it's one you use a lot in spreadsheets because it's how to calculate the percent, and percents are used a lot. So I want to figure out what percentage of my total revenue is John Doe contributing. So I put my cursor here, and we're back to formulas instead of functions. So I'm going to do an equal. And to get a percent, I want to divide what John paid, put a slash, divided by the total of everybody. And it tells me he paid 33% of my total revenue for the month. Looks about right. There's two ways to copy formulas down. One is like we did before with the column headers. I can just grab that bottom right corner and drag it down, and it'll copy it down. But you see, I got a problem. It says I've divided by 0, and that's a no-no. So let's check this formula. This looks right. C4 divided by C10. Let's check this one. This says C5. That's what I wanted, C5 divided by C11. I don't want C11. I want C10 again. What happens if you copy a formula down? It increments both of the arguments. But in this case, I want to lock part of the argument. Let's go back up to here. So I don't want C10 to increment. To tell Excel that, I put a $sign in front of it. Don't ask me why it's a $sign. You just have to memorize that. So it's now C4 divided by $C, $10. I'll show you a different way to copy the formula. I'm just going to use the left mouse button and select where I want it to be copied and do a keyboard Control D. Think about it as Control down, and it copied that formula all the way down. So that's called an absolute reference. It stays at that individual cell when you copy that formula. One more function real quick. this looks right, but I can't add that up in my head. I probably could if I tried, but instead I'm just going to throw in a real quick function because I know these should total to be 100 if it's working right. So I'm just going to sum that up. And there's a function. And yes, it does add up to 100%. So I know my formulas are working correctly. Right. So that's basic formulas, basic functions. Again, in the intermediate class, we pick up and start talking about some more advanced types of functions. But let's do a little bit about formatting. We're about to run out of time and we haven't done any formatting yet. And this is a pretty nice looking table, if I do say so myself. There's one problem here. There's formatting with that cell, but we'll fix that on the other side. When I'm creating a new table, though, I typically get all my formulas working right first, and then I worry about making it look pretty. So this one's working correctly, just doesn't look very nice. So let's fix it. And luckily, this works pretty much like what you're used to if you've used word processors or even formatting the body of an email. I want to bold this, so I just select it and I can hit bold, and it's now bolded that information. But what's nice about spreadsheets is I don't have to do this for each cell one at a time. I can select an entire row and say bold that entire row. And now I've done the whole row with one click. I can do the same thing with columns. So if I want to center this, make it look a little nicer, I can select this entire column just by clicking on the column and come up here and hit the center. And it centered that for me. Now, we talked about formatting before. This is currency. This should be formatted as currency like this one is, but it's not. Everything in this column, except for that text, is currency. So I can just grab that whole column again, come up here and click the currency. And now it's all formatted as currency. If I don't charge anything below whole dollars, I can change that now and say round this to the nearest dollar. Makes it look a little nicer. And these are percentages. Just to show you a difference, I can click the whole column again, or I could just say I want to format these cells. So I'll just pick the cells I want to format, hit the percent sign up here, and those are all formatted with the percentage. If I want to add a decimal place, I can click here, or 2 decimal places. One's good. Looks pretty nice. Again, if I'm going too fast, stop and ask me. A lot of this, I'm assuming you're kind of familiar with. We're going to get into some things that are peculiar to spreadsheets now, though, because I got a problem here. I'm chopping off parts of the people's names. That's not nice. So I need to change the column width. There's a couple of ways to do that. I come up to the top to the column and move over toward the next column. My cursor changes to arrows pointing in 2 directions. From here, I can use the left mouse, hold the left mouse down and just drag it over and make that column wider. So that's a way to manually change a column width. I'm going to click undo just to emphasize the undo button that I love. Another way to do it is just to go to the same place, but instead of dragging, double click, and it will go ahead and change the size of that column to fit the widest cell in the column. That's a little faster. And plus, it'll act on information that's out of sight. If I've got a really long name down here, if I do it by sight, I won't take into account the one that's down there. If I double click, it will take account everything in the column.
Wade,
Uh-huh.
let's say you have information below row 20. How do you lock in row 3 that has full name, level, all of that? How do you lock in row 3 so that it doesn't move, so that you can continue to see what's in row 3 while you're adding in information past row 20?
Yep, you can do that. That's in the intermediate class. That's a little more complicated. If we have time at the very end of class, ask me again and I'll show you. But in the intermediate class, we talk about large spreadsheets where you need to lock rows and lock columns and sort them and filter them. That's all part of the intermediate class.
Okay.
But if we have time at the end, I'll show you quickly how to do that.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, so let's keep going. We got a few more problems here. I'm chopping off part of the name of this column header. Now I could use my trick and do this, but it gives me lots of ugly white space here that I don't particularly like. So I'm gonna undo that and put it back like it was. What I can do instead is to come up here and wrap the text. So when I click that, it takes that second word, puts it underneath the first word, and now it looks a little nicer. I probably want to center that, make it look even nicer. And in fact, now I've got some extra white space, so I could even do my double click trick here and shrink it down even smaller. And that looks pretty nice. I got the same problem here. That took me 2 or 3 steps to fix this one. What I can do, remember I'm lazy, I can take the formatting I did in this cell, come up here, grab my paintbrush, and basically say, take that format and paint it into this cell. And it will now do the same thing. It will wrap the text and center the text in one click. And I could paint it to all these cells. So you can paint to multiple cells as well. All right, getting pretty close to done here. Maybe the next thing I'm going to do is to draw lines around the cells. That's what you typically do with tables to make that table stand out, make it clear what's in the table, what's not. So I select the table, come up here to borders, and I'm going to pick all borders. Again, lots of other options you can put in there, but for now, we're just going to do all borders. That'll put lines around all 4 sides of each cell. Looking good. What you also do frequently for your column headers is to put a little color behind that. Again, so that stands out, making it clear this is a header. And you can just come up here and pick whatever color you want. I had a blue before. Let's do a green just to be different. And I've got one thing left, and we're going to wrap it up. Is my title here. That's kind of anemic looking there. So let's first bold it and maybe make it a little bigger. Let's go up to 14. And I could even change the font. And let's go bold. Ooh, I don't like that. Let's pick that one. That looks a little better. That's different font though, makes it stand out. Looks good, except I want it centered, and it's not centered. And I could copy this to another cell, but none of them are dead center. The way you can do that is to select all the columns in the table, come up here to this icon. When you hover over it, it says merge and center. That's what I want to do. I want to merge those 4 cells into one big cell and then center my contents in the middle of the cell. And there it is. So no matter what I do to my table, it's always going to be in the center. And I'm done. Now, one other thing I will show you that I meant to show you on the prior sheet that I forgot to is that, part of the magic of this spreadsheet is that you've got this area here that you're entering information. So as life goes on and I add another member to my club, when I put him in as a level 1, my total is going to change to 5. I put his payment amount in there. Both of these numbers are going to change to adjust for that. If Mary withdraws from the club, I can click on this row, right click, and say clear out the contents, clear our stuff out. And again, it drops me back down to 4, and it changes my everything else. Oh, this doesn't look good, but we got a trick for that. I'm going to take this format and paint it over there. There, that looks better. So that's how your functions and your formulas change as you're changing things. I lost this formula here, but I can put that back in like that, which is easy enough as well. Questions about anything? We got time for 2 or 3 questions, maybe.
I have a couple of questions.
Huh?
Wade, what about if you want alphabetical order? Or I mean, for the names.
Okay, yeah, and that's in that other class as well, is how you can sort. You can select a table and sort. As just a quick here, that one is pretty quick and easy. So I can just select the table here, go up to data, sort, tell it my data has headers. Then I pick here, I want to sort by full name and say okay, and it's now sorted my information.
That's not alphabetical.
It's alphabetical by first name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
In the intermediate class, I'll show you how to reverse those and have it last name first, first name last. So it'll be by alphabetical by last name. That's in the intermediate class as well.
Wait, would that be the same thing for a monthly fee if you wanted the lowest first or the
Yep.
First, same thing? Go with the headings.
I can sort by monthly fee, and I can have it be largest to smallest. And since we're previewing the next class, let me go ahead and do the other one as well. Actually, it's gonna be hard to show here because I can't, well, let's see. If I go to view and go to freeze panes, and I tell it I want to, hang on a second. I'm going to select these 3 rows and tell it to freeze the top. So now it's just going to freeze the top row. I don't think you can freeze more than the top row. So to do what, I forget who was asking about this, the way you normally do for a big table like that is that you don't have a header here. You would delete this so the first row is the top row. And now if I go into here and freeze the top row, when I scroll, this information, my column headers don't disappear.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Wanda was asking.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Can't you do split screens too? Split panes?
I think there's a way to do that. I don't remember how to do that, to be honest.
Okay.
Maybe one more question. We need to move on because some people may have another class. If there's a lull, I'm going to take the opportunities and go ahead and move to the closing because we got 5 minutes left to get you out of here on time for your next class. So I skipped a bunch of things here, but so I do want to thank you for attending the class. This is the end of the actual class. There are some closing slides I want to go over, but hopefully you enjoyed. And if you're a social media person, we'd love for you to share your experience on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whichever social media you use. And you can tag us at Get Set Up, and we'll see that and we'll like your post as well. If you don't do social media, but you want to share your experience, you can email it to Liz at getsetup.io. That's Liz. And she'll post it on our Facebook page. I mentioned several times there's an Excel intermediate class that's a follow-up to this class. So if you're interested in that going a little further, that's the next class. I'll show you in a couple of minutes how to go find that class if you want to register for it. So in closing, after class, you'll get an email, and that email has several sections to it. There is a class notes section, and in the class notes sections, it has links to several websites that have related and additional information about Excel. There is a link in there to Microsoft 365 in case you want to find out more about signing up for that and what the costs are. That's in there as well. If you want to recommend the class to a friend, some people you think would like to take the class, you can post a link to the class on Facebook by clicking the Facebook link. Or if you'd rather just send it via email, you can click the email link and it'll send a link via email. There'll be 3 classes that you might want to take. If you want to take one or more of them, just click the link in the email. It'll take you right to the registration page for that class, save you some clicks. I'm all about saving clicks. There's also a give feedback link. It'll open our feedback page where you can just 2 clicks, rate the class 1 to 5 stars, click on the stars, rate the guide 1 to 5 stars, click on the stars. You can add comments here. Comments are greatly appreciated, but not required. Just very quickly here as well, I said there are other ways to use this, help it get set up. If you would like to host an interest group, maybe you want to host an Excel users group where you get together with other people and swap Excel functions and tricks and tips, let us know. If there's a class you'd like to see us offer that we're not offering, let us know. If you know of an organization that maybe you belong to that you think would be a good partner for us, let us know about that as well. And of course, to request a copy of the recording of the session, same email address. The last link on the page takes you, it's called View Schedule. It takes you to our website where you can book another class. A couple of things I want to show you that we have changed recently on our website. Right in the center is View My Complete Schedule. So that takes you to the classes you've already booked. So you can either launch the class when it's time to take the class, or you can cancel the class if you're just find out you can't attend the class and free that seat up for someone else to have. If you're looking for a class, the best way to find it is to search by keyword. So if you're looking for that other Excel class, you can just start typing Excel, and here it is, Excel Intermediate Topics and Tips. You can click there. It will take you to the registration page for that class. It's going to be April the 29th, which is, what is that, Thursday, at 4:30 Eastern, and you can book that class. If you click book, there's one new thing we've added there as well. There's a way to invite a friend here as well. So if you want to invite one or more people to attend that class as well, you can do that, and you can just put in their email address here and it'll send them a link, or you can copy the link, email it to multiple people, or post it on Facebook, whatever you want to do. Last thing I want to show you, I've got 30 seconds to do it, is that if this was just added, but it's been requested for a while, if there's a guide that you like and you want to follow and see what other classes they're teaching, just put their name in the search and hit enter. And think. Come back here, try this again. There we go. It'll show you the classes. I put my name in, but these are the classes that I'm teaching in the next couple of weeks. So you can just scroll through and book any one of those classes that you want to book as well. All right, I am 1 minute over, which is not too bad for me. Thanks for attending the class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again in another class really soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.